Today we'll turn our attention southward and examine the early civilizations in Mesoamerica. In the context of ancient history, Mesoamerica or Middle America is really talking about, like southern Mexico and Central America. The green on this map shows the areas of the Mayans in, again, Mexico and modern-day Mexico, modern-day Guatemala. And the area in the orange is the sphere of influence of the Aztecs, who are going to be a little bit later, who are centered around modern-day Mexico City. But neither the Mayans nor the Aztecs were the first civilizations in Mesoamerica. That distinction goes all the way back to the Olmecs. They're the earliest ones that we've found, and the guys who made these beautiful heads that you see here, this is what they're famous for. These were probably, statues representing the deities that they worshipped, but it's a little tough to say. But let's skip right past the Olmecs because they weren't as advanced as the Maya and the Aztec, who will take up the rest of this lecture. Again, the area of the Mayans is on the right in the green, and the area of the Aztecs is on the left in the pink, purplish, whatever color that is. The Mayans are around at the same time as the late Roman Empire, the fall of the Roman Empire, and the beginning of the Middle Ages in Europe, just to put it in context. And what you see here in this picture is an example of Mayan writing. So that's those are some Mayan numbers and some Mayan words right there, if you can figure them out, as well as some beautiful pictures of ancient Mayan faces, like you see here. The Mayans achieved a lot of great cultural achievement, right? They had these great temples. They had this calendar that was very sort of sophisticated and tracked a lot of, true astrological things. It's important to understand that the Mayans were like the ancient Greeks in that they were linked by a common religion, a common language, but they were not politically unified. They were, a bunch of different city-states, each one with their own king. Sometimes, the kings would have these temples or palaces, and you could sometimes see the other palace of your neighbor from the top of the one. So there were many different kings, many different city-states. They often fought with one another. And in the 900s, the civilization collapses. We're a little unclear as to why. It's again probably a combination of environmental factors, droughts and stuff like that, and the frequent wars that they brought about. It was probably a combination of some really bad environmental factors at the same time as a bad war, and again, it just leads to the eventual abandonment of the cities and that way of life. And the people still exist, but again, they literally will abandon the cities, and the cities become overgrown with jungle to be discovered much later. Switching over now to the Aztecs. The Aztecs were a little bit more in central Mexico, and the legend depicted in the picture here is that the Aztecs were, looking for their home, looking for where they were going to live, and that their religion had told them that when they saw a eagle eating a snake on top of a cactus, that would be where they should, make their home. And then, they did see that. They saw this, eagle eating a snake on top of a cactus, and they said, aha, this is where we should build our city. And they built their capital city there. They called it, my pronunciation might be off, but it was like Tenochtitlan, and and that city eventually will become Mexico City. That's the capital of Mexico today. And incidentally, this picture here of the eagle eating the snake on top of a cactus is the symbol that's in the center of the modern Mexican flag. The Aztecs also create this rich and vibrant culture. They build these gigantic temples and pyramids and roads. Their religion does involve a degree of human sacrifice that would take place at the top of these temples. They believed that was necessary to ensure the arrival of the sun each day. So this was a very regular occurrence that they would have these sacrifices at the top of the temples there. And they build a big empire. Honestly, partially because they need the human sacrifices. They keep expanding because they need to keep sort of capturing people. They expand and they expand and they create a big old empire. They are legitimately an empire by the time the Spanish arrive. So the Spanish, explorers and conquistadors end up arriving in Mexico and in, the Western Hemisphere in the 16th century. And the most important thing that they bring from a sort of a grand historical perspective are diseases. The Aztecs and Native Americans in general had built up no immunity against the diseases that the Europeans brought, and these diseases ravaged Native American populations, in some cases wiping out between half to two-thirds of the people in various areas. So the conquering that happens later is certainly significant, but really this devastating plague, really comparable to sort of the Black Death in Europe that sweeps over the Native American populations, this is really what devastates their civilizations, and then the political conquering happens sort of after that. The Spanish conquerors, they're usually called the conquistadors. They then come in sort of on the heels of these diseases, which in some cases outpace the Spanish and arrive before the Spanish do in various places. They come in and they conquer the Aztecs. They destroy their political leadership. Montezuma gets killed. It's this whole story which we'll get into in class. But the gist of it is, you see here on the left, you have these European conquerors with steel armor, steel weapons. They've got horses, and the Aztecs on the right are dealing mostly with sort of cloth and spears and some arrows, but nothing like the technology that the Europeans have. So that, combined with the fact that they're battling these terrible diseases, make it a relatively quick conquering. And that's the fall of the Aztecs.